Hey guys, Thomas the Jr. here, aka Mustache Tom, and I'm gonna be reviewing Zootopia. But before I do, I have a mini story, and I'm gonna put a link in the description to skip if you want to skip this story. So, anyways, I was googling Zootopia to get the poster. That's per usual. I usually just Google these things, and when I did, I came across some erotic images. So I had to scroll down and I finally got to the poster and I saved it and stuff. And after I saved it, I was like, I wonder something. So I turned the safety images on to see if that would do anything, and it didn't do anything. The images are still there, and I think I know why, but you know, that's another story or another explanation for another video entirely. But other than that, here's my review. So the movie starts off with a young Judy Hopps as a young bunny character, and she explains that as a kid she wants to grow up to be a cop. So that's her dream. She's gonna follow it, and she does everything she can to obtain this goal. She trains really hard, and she gets to the top of her class, and then she gets assigned to a city area called, well, Zootopia. So she goes there and she gets put in a position of putting tickets for cars that are parked. And she's doing the best of her ability, even though she wants to be a real cop. She does see the Fox character named Nick. Now, Nick is sneaking around and she starts to go suspicious, so she begins to follow him into this ice cream store where he's playing up this whole facade of buying ice cream for this other little fox. He's my son, supposedly, and stuff of that nature. She ends up getting him the ice cream, and then he ends up like selling it later, and she catches on to that, and she doesn't want any of it. Is hassling him, says she's gonna arrest him, but he says he's in the right. So while that's going on, she wants to continue to do her job, so she sees that there are a bunch of missing animals and she wants to get on that case, but the chief there still says no. But through a mishearing, the mayor or the mayor's assistant says, "Oh, she's on the case. Excellent. This will be a great story." So she ends up being on the case, and she ends up requiring the help of Nick through a means of getting him to say something where she can use it against him. And they actually make this a point of something that they do throughout the movie. This whole thing of, oh, that you said this and I can use it against you. They use this pretty primarily in this movie, and it's actually really interesting how they do that. Even though some of the messages are a bit on the nose, it's still an interesting movie because we get the backstory of these characters, and they're just really interesting characters to follow. Nick and Judy's relationship in this story is one that is like like a buddy cop kind of feel, and it's so interesting to follow it. And the way they play off of each other is just really really nice, even though there's like some holding it against you sort of vibe going on. There is a bond happening between the two characters, and Nick at one point sees that Judy is struggling to hold on to her job, and he says, "You know what? I'm gonna help you." And even after that, their bond continues to be tested, and I find that really interesting. So there's the case. There's like these wild animals on the loose, and it seems to primarily be focused on these hunters. And after like solving the case or whatever, I'm going into spoilers at the around the 5 minute mark, so I'll also put that in the description. they end up at this lab where there are a bunch of like wild animals, and after like capturing who they assume is behind it, she goes into this press conference where says things where it's all happening really fast, and she's doing the best to her ability with the knowledge she knows or assumes she knows, and she sort of says things that kind of get under Nick's skin. So the trust, again, it gets tested here, where she said a bunch of things and he sort of repeats it to her, and then she feels really bad about it. So again, that is really interesting, and the way that they resolve it, again, really strong. They bring back the thing where she says something and then he has the stick at that time and he uses it against her, and it's sort of like, oh, it's sweet, it's so good. My favorite scene is where they're riding on this cart into a different location and they're just having a really nice bonding moment where Nick's actually telling his story, where he gets like, he wants to be like this Boy Scout or something, or Cub Scout, I guess, if you want to call it that. And the other animals there are considered the prey characters, and he's the only hunter character, and they say they can't trust him. So his character arc, it follows him by saying he that he wants to be the character that everyone assumes he is, and it makes sense, like, that he wants to be that way. So, the bond between them is really great. They do go through a few areas, and they actually utilize each area to do something different. You know, there's like this nude area or whatever, but she's like gathering information, and then they end up going to another area where they run into the sloths from the commercial, and then they're trying to get the info. There's the intel. They end up slipping into this like mob mentality character, and then they sort of manage to get out of there. So there are quite a few areas that they go through, and it does feel like a very detective thing to do, to go from area to area, but still, the movie never truly forgets what it is, and it's sort of like this good buddy cop kind of film where these two characters are two different characters. One's a cop, one's an assistant cop, and they have to go through each other's differences to solve the case. And I enjoy that they were able to incorporate these different things while also maintaining its core value of being a cop movie, pretty much. Um, so I'm gonna score this movie. I'm gonna give it an 8.5 out of 10. This is currently, as of right now, my favorite movie to come out of 2016. I highly enjoyed this movie. The characters are just so interesting to watch, and the way they handle their interactions with each other is just so interesting. And even if the jokes might not land 100% of the time, and some of the messages are on the nose, it's still just so enjoyable to watch. I really just enjoyed watching this movie. There was never a moment where I felt it was dull or boring. No, they just kept on going, and I really liked that. The pacing was really well handled, uh, and I would actually highly recommend this movie. It's pretty solid through the beginning to the end. So that's my review of Zootopia. My name is Thomas Sisula Jr., aka Mustache Charm, and I'll see you guys next time.